Hey, welcome back to another video. Today we've got another net worth update. So I'm excited for this one. These have been very interesting to put on. I really like doing all of these net worth updates just because, for one, they keep me accountable. They keep me accountable for all the actions that I am saying that, it is good to take. They keep me accountable to you all, and they keep me on track. They keep me keeping track of what I am doing month in, month out, and making sure that I'm keeping on my budget, making sure that I'm just keeping on my stuff and that I am moving in the right direction. It's good to track the market, good to track what I'm spending, what I'm paying in taxes, what I'm doing income, outflow wise, and all of that stuff. So today we got a lot to talk about. We got a controversial video that just came out. We got to clarify some things about that. We got to talk about some mindset. We got to talk about what I am tracking. I want to talk about that first, and we will talk about what type of policy I would like to see. We'll talk about social engineering, and last we will get to the net worth update itself. So we got a lot to get through. I'm going to timestamp this video just because some of this stuff, some of you may or may not want to just skip around. So I'm going to give you guys that option. I'm going to timestamp the video. But anyways, first thing we're going to get into is, what are you tracking? And specifically, can it be controlled by you? And is it improving? Can it be controlled by you? And is it improving? So first, I'm going to go into what I am tracking. So what I am tracking, obviously, net worth. This is a net worth update. I'm tracking my goals. So I'm going to go into my goals really quick here. My goals for 2020, 2021 are cash pile of 20,000, still working on that. 6,000 in Roth IRA by 2021. I already did that. 30K Robinhood value, 6,000 in Roth IRA before 2020. Did that. 3,000 in 529 account. I'm trying to start a college fund for my family, for myself, so that we can go to school debt free. 20,000 in a real estate savings account. So that's just going to be conservatively invested, and that's going to be for putting down on a second property. Pay off 15K car loan. We did that for the year. Pay off Fed loan, so paid off my student loans for the year. Max out 401k, so we're still working on that. We got about 5,700 left to go, and I've got the total cost that it's going to cost down there. It's going to be a little bit under $79,000 to get there. So once the YouTube income starts coming in, hopefully we can get to that goal. So what was the point of listing all of those goals? The point is that what I am tracking is something that is, one, it's in my control. Number two, it is something that is improving week after week. Now, in contrast, what is the media tracking? What does the media have everyone tracking? The media has everyone tracking coronavirus deaths. The media has everyone tracking how many people were shot by the police. The media has people tracking all of these negative things, lockdowns. The media has people tracking stock market dips, usually specifically. The media has people tracking all of these things that bring about misery. The media is having people tracking things that they want to see. The people are addicted to negativity. The people are addicted to fear. We can't exist in fear all the time, but fear does sell. Anger does sell. Outrage does sell. I figured this out by putting out that video that was about the BLM organization. That was by far my best performing video, and it spoke to me, and it said, hey, if you want to sell, you have to sell fear, because the people right now are addicted to fear. The people are addicted to arguing. The people are addicted to not coming together. The people are addicted to just yelling across the way and not giving people the benefit of the doubt. Not thinking, hey, this person is my fellow man. Maybe they have my best interest in mind, but they have a different way of looking at things. So that's what I wanted to say about what are you tracking. So that is something that we should all be focused on, is what are we tracking? Is it under our control? Is it improving? So that's a huge determinant of your view of the world. If what you're tracking is getting worse and you have no control over it, it feels like you have no control of your life. It feels like your life is getting worse every day. But on the opposite, it is the exact opposite. So what do I say to that? My life is getting better every single day. That's how I feel. I feel great. So anyways, let's move on to number 2 topic of the day. And that is that I am getting these weird accusations that I am a Trump wannabe. And that is a quote from one of the comments that I got. Now, obviously, I tend to engage with the trolls. I shouldn't engage with the trolls because when it comes down to it, people that troll on my videos, we just live in completely different universes. Mentally, we live in completely different universes. We are creating completely different lives for ourselves. So let me give you the statistics. 46.9% of eligible voters last election did not vote. So 108,656 voters did not vote. If I would have voted for Donald J. Trump, there would have been 108,600,055 voters that did not vote. So I will be supporting the same candidate this year. And if you didn't understand that, just get out a calculator. You can figure out what I mean by that. But that does raise the next topic of the day, which is what would cause me to vote for a candidate? In other words, what type of world would I like to see? Or in other words, what would I want to see the government do? So I've got about 10 things written down here, and I want you guys to just try to tell me which candidate is trying to achieve these things. So object number 1 would be in the Federal Reserve. Stop printing money. Stop trying to centrally plan the government through printing money. Number 2, lower taxes. Take taxes down. For corporations, take taxes down for individuals. Number 3, shrink the government in size and scope. We know that politicians are not going to shrink government oversight. We know that politicians are not going to shrink what the government does. The programs, they're not going to take away programs. For the most part, they're just not going to do that. They're not going to shrink their power after they take power. Number 4, stop drilling for so much oil. Which politicians are going to actually do that? Number 5, incentivize electrification and charity through tax breaks. So we've seen that in the past, and then we've seen it taken away through this administration. I would also like to see, like I said, charity being incentivized through tax breaks, because then we would see a more charitable society. Because if you can get out of paying your taxes through doing more charity, if you can get out of more taxes, then we'll see more charity. And if we give the people more money and give them more incentives to be charitable, then you will see more charity. So number 6 is decriminalize drugs. So what I see with this is, and obviously this is a controversial one, but the good of having drugs illegal versus the bad of having drugs illegal, it's just, I don't see the benefit there of having drugs illegal, because all of the things that come about as a result of drugs being illegal, all the tax dollars that are missed out on as a result of drugs being illegal, all the people that die, all the people that have their lives ruined, the black markets, all of that stuff could be ended if we just let human beings be human beings. We haven't stopped people from doing drugs. We haven't stopped people from trafficking drugs. We have just made the planet a lot more dangerous. So bring back the troops. That's number 7. I'm not going to get too much into that one just because that one's very controversial, especially with myself being a troop. I know that we have some operations that have done very great work overseas, but I would just like to see a general posture of bringing the troops back home. Number 8, stop the centrally planned economy through wage, price, and interest rate controls. So every time you change one of those things, say you put up wages, that is inflationary. If you put up wages, then basically, essentially, employers have to pay more to their wage earners, so it costs them more to produce, so prices go up. If you put prices down, well, now people can't afford to employ people unless they're a very large company. If you put interest rates down, well, now it's harder for banks to make money in the lending, so they'll stop lending. These things tend to regulate themselves out through a slightly painful process, but we don't need someone like the Federal Reserve stepping in and instituting their plan as if they have your best interests more in mind than you have your best interests in mind. Who better to institute your best interests than you? Who better to institute their own best interests than the market? So what you see in this world is we have all of these people with all of their own wills, and as you will it, so it will be. But you have all of these overlapping wills, and the most moral thing that you could do is allow those wills to go, obviously within a certain framework of societal laws and whatnot, But the best thing that you could do as far as personal freedom is allow those wills to overlap. What you see is you see all of these wills overlapping, and what you end up coming out with is that no one gets exactly what they wanted. We have to compromise. So acknowledging that compromise and giving people the freedom to do what they want, to charge more if they feel like somebody's a more at-risk borrower, allowing people to charge less if they feel like they need to charge less to the person they want to get that borrower. Just allowing people the personal freedom of choice would be the best thing for the economy in the long run. So you can't necessarily get this full employment thing just by planning the economy. I mean, you could have, for example, if you wanted full employment, you could do like what the military does. The military will have us go down to the motor pool and just PMCS vehicles for a day. I mean, what benefit does that do to society to have people just digging a ditch and filling it back in, for example? That's full employment, but what is really happening? You look at places like China, and you've got them building these ghost cities, or in other words, big, giant cities that have no one living in them. What is the benefit to society of having full employment, but you're doing things that are useless? In a society where people have their own choice to consume when they want and to employ people when they want, and they have choices to do the things that they want, there will be booms and busts. Yes, this is a fact, but smoothing it over by just ineffectively allocating resources is not a solution. It is a band-aid. But anyways, like I said earlier, that's why we need the tax breaks for charitable things, charitable donations. If we increase the overall wealth of the nation and we incentivize charitability, then I think that things would be better overall. So number 9, we should be able to opt out of taxes that we do not want to pay. For example, I would love to opt out of Social Security tax. I would love to opt out of Medicare tax, because let me give you some numbers behind that. Social Security tax, it is about 6.2% that you have to pay into it. Not only that, if you are an employee, then your employer has to pay in 6.2%. So if you guys are paying in that 12.4%, unless you're self-employed, in which case you have to pay in 12.4% on your own because you are your own employer. If you pay in that 12.4% plus the 2.9%, which is what you have to pay, half has to be paid by you and your employer, 1.45% each for Medicare. If you were able to opt out of that, you would essentially get 15.3% of your check back. Assuming that you made $50K a year, you would get $7,700 approximately back on your check. If you invested that at 8% in the S&P 500 for 40 years, just invested that amount instead of giving it to Social Security, you would have $1.99 million after those 40 years. If you were to give that to Social Security and they get their 2% return that they're getting, you would have $465,000 at the end of that 40 years. So essentially what the government is doing by making you pay into Social Security tax, you're already not getting that money. So it's not like you couldn't go invest that in the S&P 500. They're taking $1.53 million from you. They're taking $1.53 million from every American that makes $50K a year. So that's, in my mind, that's a crime. If you just taught people how to invest their money, you could give them that $1.53 million. So obviously this would, as far as supply and demand on the stock market, that would change things if people had more money. But if there's more money to flow, there's more wealth in the hands of the people, that leads to a more prosperous society, that leads to more growth for Americans. And I just think it would overall be a good idea. Number 10 is the most controversial one that I have, but I would restructure the Food and Nutrition Board, or in other words, the people who give us our RDAs, or recommended daily allowances. So Food and Nutrition Board basically tells us what our RDAs are. So they are the people who make that food pyramid. If you've ever seen that food pyramid that is in your public school, that is from the Food and Nutrition Board. So the Food and Nutrition Board has done something that should be a crime. Essentially what they did is since they set the amount of food that people should be eating, the food industry goes in and they lobby to the Food and Nutrition Board. And let's say that you sell dairy, or you sell meat, or you sell, your Tyson Foods, and you sell, bologna or something. If you tell them to up their protein recommendation, essentially what's healthy, what's considered healthy, or in other words, what prevents the 10 leading causes of death besides suicide, such as diabetes, heart disease, things like atherosclerosis, all of these things, Alzheimer's, things of that nature. The things that are killing Americans, it is virtually impossible for you to get these diseases if you eat 10% or less of animal protein. With that said, the FNB knows this, and they revise their recommendations up to 10 to 35%. So think about this. Let's say that you're a Hormel, you're Tyson Foods or something. Let's say that you're making $10 billion a year. You go and you lobby the FNB and you tell them, hey, could you just revise this up to say, instead of 10%, how about you say 10 to 35%? Well, congratulations. Once you do that, now you essentially bring your revenues from 10 billion to 35 billion. So if you think that's a conspiracy, you might want to look it up. Look up the book, The China Study. Look into the documentary, What the Health. It's a very interesting documentary. Another head scratcher from the FNB is that Europe, of their carbohydrates that they're recommended, Europe recommends that you get 10% or less from refined sugars, whereas in the US, it's recommended 25% or less. Is the science different in the US and in Europe, or is there something else going on? Is Mars Candy, are they getting lobbied by these companies? One thing that is another head scratcher is, if you ever notice, when you're on food stamps, you can only get certain foods. Why is it that you can only get certain foods? Why is it that you're getting a set amount of foods? In other words, if you look at it from the producer's point of view, you get to sell a certain amount to the government because of those RDAs. Who is predominantly on those food stamps? Disproportionately, black people. 20% of people that are on WIC are black, whereas the population is 13%. And 10% of people who are on WIC are Indian and Alaskan natives, whereas their population is 2%. So disproportionately, the FNB is killing with these diseases of overconsumption, with these diseases of not even overconsumption, just consuming the wrong foods. They're killing black people and they're killing Alaskan natives and Indian people. So I would restructure that. I would let the truth out about the power that food has to heal our bodies. But anyways, that is what I would do if I were running on my own platform. And I'm sure that we can see by now that no one is running on this platform. So like I said, I will be supporting the same candidate that I did in 2016, and that is myself. So number 3 topic that we're going to get into is social engineering and mindset. So I want to talk about the subconscious mind versus the conscious mind. And it's just something that it's a belief that helps me through life. And it's a belief that I think that a lot of people ought to be more aware of. So subconscious mind versus conscious mind. The conscious mind is the reasoning mind, whereas the subconscious mind is, the brainstem, the old brain, the reptilian brain. That's the one that's connected to the body, the one that makes the heart pump, the one that makes you breathe at night, the one that never goes to sleep. It's very prone to suggestion. It's very prone to the reasoning that you put into it. So the thing that is very important for people to understand is that you are what you say you are. The conscious mind controls the subconscious mind. So if you say that you are a victim, so it will be. If you say that you are a victim, so it will be. So what am I advocating? I'm advocating that people look at things differently. I think that people need to understand that you have power beyond measure to control your life based on your subconscious mind. Think about this. Think about a hypnotist. A hypnotist can make you think that you are anything. A hypnotist can make you do anything. A hypnotist can put you into a sleep-like state. And once they put you into that sleep-like state, they can hold anything before your nose, tell you that it's pepper, and you'll start to sneeze. You can do the same thing to yourself, and other people can do the same thing to you. It's called gaslighting. So if the media is putting you in a sleep-like state, they're putting you at these jobs, they're making you tired day in and day out, or they're playing their TV, their message to you on your TV while you sleep. They're giving you all of these suggestions. They're giving you all of this fear. They are hypnotizing you into doing exactly what they want you to do. They are hypnotizing you into being as mad at anything as they want to. They're hypnotizing people into outrage. They're hypnotizing people into their own agendas. And these days, let's be honest, there's not really any more news outlets. There's just people hypnotizing the masses. There's a lot of social engineering going on. And essentially, if we saw it on the news, it's true. So that's kind of what I'm seeing in the world. But anyways, we got one more story before we get onto the actual net worth update. And that was that Citibank has pledged $1 billion to put into black businesses. So I thought this was an interesting story because, as I always say on this channel, everything that looks good may not always be good. So I question this decision to make $1 billion worth of loans to black businesses. Now, here's the issue that I take with making $1 billion of loans to black businesses. When you're a lender, you are in the lending industry to make money. The lending practices that you practice are in place so that the bank will make money. And I'm not saying this, I'm not going towards, oh, well, you know, my banks are going to lose money, the banks that I own. I'm not talking about that. I'm saying that even with colleges, for example, the reason why certain colleges don't accept certain people is because they are not going to be ready to handle the rigors of that college. The reason why certain business loans are not accepted is because they're not going to be ready to run that business. They don't see any value in that business, and that business is going to fail. Let me give you guys some statistics. So if we were to make these loans, 20% of all businesses fail within the first 2 years. 45% of all businesses fail within the first 5 years. So essentially, if we just take that 1 billion number and we say that 45% of all of the loans are going to fail, that means that black people are about to be saddled with $450 million in debt with nothing to show for it within the next 5 years. That's what that means if you look at it from that kind of fatalistic perspective. And if you take into account the fact that usually these banks have a full racial profile, they have a full slew of people to lend to, and you're taking that demographic and shrinking it down to one race, you could readily assume that 45% that fail within the first 5 years, I mean, it's probably going to be a higher number. We saw more black businesses fail during this pandemic. And the reasons for that, no one really can point that down. Every business probably failed for different reasons, mostly because the government wouldn't let them operate, but I'm not going to get into that. So if you have a merit-based system with a narrower pool, I mean, essentially what you're saying is we're going to have $450 million in debt in the next 5 years with nothing to show for it. So what I would rather see is people starting businesses that don't require capital. What I would rather see is people starting a trade that doesn't require capital. What I would rather see is people spending that $1 billion. I would rather see the bank spend that $1 billion on teaching people to start a business rather than on loaning people money to start a business, because that $450 million in 5 years is coming. So anyways, let's go ahead and we'll get into the actual net worth update. And it's looking pretty good this month, but just to give you guys a spoiler, it is down. So we got to go through all of these things. Last time we came on the show, the Dow was at 27,896. Today, the Dow's at 27,173. It's up 1.34% on the day, today being September 25th. And let's go into all of the asset classes. So assets, checking account is at $2,186. I'm getting ready to pay my mortgage, so that's going to go down. But savings and emergency fund is at $500. So why did that go down? That went down because I bought a computer. The computer has been helping me be more active on these posts. So that is why I've been more active, is because I've been able to post with this computer. Home equity went from like 9,000 to 0. So that the reason why that happened is because I refinanced all of my equity out of my property. I should be getting a check from escrow soon for about $1,900, so that'll help me out a little bit. So without the loss of home equity, the net worth would be up about $4K. But anyways, that is besides the point, because my mortgage now is going to cost about $90 less per month. So we will make that up in the long run. I'm going to eventually try to rent this place out, so that'll be nice to have a big basically a free loan. I got in at 2.75% interest rate, so that was a good deal. So anyways, moving on to car. Car is down on the month, and I wanted to always track my car because it's just going to go steadily down. So as I drive more miles, it goes down and down. It was 14,482 last month, and now it is down to $12,095. That is 2 months. So in 2 months, it basically lost $1,000 each month. That could be because of market conditions, but it's also because the car has more miles on it. So taxable accounts are up to $523 from $25. So I put in about $500. I saw the market was dipping. I thought we were going to keep on dipping, but now it's going back up, so I'm going to focus on cash a little bit more. TSP, that is my retirement account, is at about $6,700. So we had a couple of contributions to that. 401k is sitting at $22,673. So that one is up significantly. We should get about a $1,600 injection into that one. I'm about $5,700 away from maxing that for the year. So I'll be maxing the IRA and maxing the 401k, trying to keep the tax man off me. Credit card rewards. So I'm looking for a $200 credit card reward from Bank of America soon. So that will be coming in soon. Credit card rewards are at $445.07. So we're up about $100 from last month. I love using the credit card for things that I would buy anyway. So that goes up about $50 to $100 each month. So especially last month, because I bought the computer and I did all those other things that I had to do. Lending Club continues to be a disaster. Lending Club is down from $429. It's down to $423. So I got paid out some cash, $16 of cash, but then somebody defaulted on a loan. So moral of the story, Lending Club, Anyway, liabilities. We got the VA home loan is up to $252,043, up from $243,043. So taxes, I paid $1,457. It's down from last month due to increased 401k contributions. I've been contributing 50% of my check from my W-2 job. So all of the income from my W-2 jobs, I've been contributing 50% to that. And expenses this month were massive. Expenses, it included the refinance, it included the computer, and the expenses ended up being $10,365. So the computer and the refinance really brought that up. I didn't really spend a ton of money, but in my view, buying the computer, refinancing the house, that's a good business move long term. So not too worried about it. Cash flow. Incomes this month were also really good. So made $13,258 in the past. I believe this has been a month and a half or so. So passive income was $10.09 in dividends plus $15.50 rent. Net worth is down to $60,954. It should go up about $300 from there, just when my 401k updates tomorrow, because it doesn't update, it updates overnight. So should be about 61,300 or so, and that is a delta net worth of 8.85% negative. So we lost $5,915, but most of that was on the refinance. So anyways, last, I'm going to get into my focuses for the months moving forward between now and the next net worth update. Hopefully we're up next month, but honestly, I hope the markets are down so that we can get in there, start buying. I'm getting to the point where I have a little bit of cash. I'm almost maxed out on the 401k, so I'm going to start buying stocks. And I've already built up my passive income in stocks to about $2.50 a month. So, congratulations to me. My focus is going to be taxable accounts and cash. I'm going to be focusing on making my 401k contributions and maxing that out before November. I'm trying to focus on getting that Bank of America cash reward. So that'll be $200 for $1,000 of spend. I'm getting my place ready to rent just in case I have to deploy in the future. And I'm focusing on YouTube monetization. So if you guys want to help me out with my YouTube monetization, you're already helping me out for watching to the end of the video. But if you want to help out a little bit more, I have been putting together this all my videos playlist. If you want to just run that playlist, then feel free to do that. I'm begging for these watch hours. I need about 400 watch hours. So anyways, hopefully you guys like this video. Hopefully you guys like the perspective I provided. Last words I'd like to say, please make sure that you guys are not consuming this, as I like to call it, fear porn. It's out there. They want you to watch. They want you to get outraged. They want you at each other's throat while rich people are up on high, just kind of laughing at the masses. But anyways, hopefully you guys did enjoy the video. And last thing I want to say is, even if I do stop doing YouTube at some point, I think I'm going to continue these videos just because I think that there's a lot of value in somebody seeing this one day. You know, I imagine some young black kid, if he sees some video like this, some series like this, and he can see somebody coming, you know, not necessarily rags to riches, but see somebody coming from where I'm at now to where I'm going to be at 30, 40, 50. I think that that could be very inspirational. I want to, you know, be able to uplift the community, somebody who maybe doesn't have so many positive role models. I think that that's really positive in the hands of the community. So anyways, hopefully you guys liked this video. If you did, make sure you give it a like. But anyways, 100th video. I'll see you guys in the next video.